Today we're going to have a tool showdown, and that's where we take two different tools, we take a look at each of them, and we determine what the differences are between the two. Now today's tool may look a little bit familiar to you, and that's because we've talked about plier wrenches before. In fact, we talked about the Knipex pliers, and if you haven't seen that video, I will put a link right up there. Knipex pliers are extremely cool and very useful, and they work in ways that nobody would ever imagine, so I encourage you to take a look at that video. The number one complaint I got on that video was the price of the Knipex pliers. I was recently in Harbor Freight, and I noticed hanging on the shelf was a set of pliers that look a lot like the Knipex pliers. I purchased these pliers so that you guys could see what the difference is between the two. You never know, they might be better, and I will say that the Harbor Freight warranty is a whole lot easier to work with than Knipex. With Knipex, you have to contact the claims department, you're also responsible for any shipping cost, and you have to be the original purchaser and show them proof of such. With the Harbor Freight return policy, well, it's quite simple. I have done it myself many times. You walk into the store, you hand them the tool, and they will go get you another tool off the shelf, and you will walk out with a new set of pliers. Enough of that nonsense. Let's open them up, take a look at them, and compare the two and see how well they are built. Right off the bat, the first thing I notice is the Harbor Freight ones is a little bit heavier, but that's because they're also a little bit beefier. They're a little bit thicker. I also have to give Harbor Freight credit for the handles. They feel a lot better than the Knipex ones. Now I understand Knipex, you can upgrade their handles, but these feel outstanding. They just seem to fit well, they feel well in the hand, and they're quite comfortable. The fit and finish of both of them are exceptional. They both have measurements printed on both sides, SAE and metric. Now both of these models are considered the 10-inch, that is the handle size, but they also both open up to 2 inches. Both of them operate exactly the same. You press the button and you slide them up and down. I will say the Harbor Freight button is a little bit bigger and it feels a little better on my thumb. As far as handle slop, they both have just about the same amount of play in them. Now, although the Harbor Freight ones are a little bit heavier, if you compare the thickness of the jaws, they are exactly the same. Now, as we talked about in the previous video, the way these tools work are the more you press down on the outside handles, the tighter they get. You don't even need to be holding on the inside handles to clinch down on a nut really tight. And as you can see here, both tools are working exactly the same. I am pressing in on these handles as hard as I can, and they're not slipping at all. Now, to demonstrate how these work, I'm going to clamp these pliers onto a lug nut on my service truck, and I'm going to stand on the top of the pliers, not hold on to the bottom, and you're going to see it's going to hold my weight. And right now I have all of my weight on the end of the pliers, and that's about 240 pounds. My initial impressions of the Harbor Freight wrench pliers are, I really like them. I think Harbor Freight has done an outstanding job creating their own version of the Knipex wrench pliers. The fit and finish seems to be really good. They are a little bit heavier, but they also feel a little bit heftier. Overall operation across the two is exactly the same. Really, the only major differences that I have noticed right off the bat is the handles feel a little bit better on the Harbor Freight version as opposed to the Knipex. The button on the Harbor Freight version feels a little better on my thumb, and the warranty on the Harbor Freight is going to be a whole lot easier to work with than the Knipex. At the time of this video, the Knipex pliers is selling for $69.17 on Amazon. The Harbor Freight pliers wrench sells for $39.99, and I'm sure you'll see sales on these in the future. So my final thoughts? Well, I really like them. I like the fact that the warranty is easy to work with, and they just feel better for me. If you like these types of videos, don't forget to like and subscribe. Take a look at some of my other videos, and at the very least, you might be entertained.